comenzando las sesiones del primer día de trabajo en comisiones en la sala número 4, Psicología Social y Comunitaria. Que para nosotros pudiéramos hacer una introducción que nos tomaría mucho tiempo del profesor Zimbardo. No es la intención. Los que estamos aquí conocemos su trabajo, conocemos el impacto de su trabajo en la psicología social, pero también en la psicología en sus diferentes ramas. Solo decir que para nosotros es un honor, un placer que haya aceptado acompañarnos, que haya decidido acompañarnos en el Congreso de la CIP. Como estudiantes hemos leído mucho su trabajo, como profesionales lo seguimos leyendo y estamos aquí dispuestos, como en todo el Congreso, a disfrutar, a aprender y hacer de este intercambio un gran Congreso Interamericano. Muchas gracias, doctor Zimbardo. Entonces, lo escuchamos.
I am honored to be able to share my ideas with you today, being invited by CIP Cuba 2019. The title of my lecture is My Journey from Creating Evil in the Past to Now Inspiring Heroism. Sorry. Yep. Oh. No, they gotta shut the lights. Romantico. But before I begin, you may be surprised to know that I visited Havana in 1955, more than 60 years ago, probably more than many of you who were not even born. I was then a first-year graduate student at Yale University, and I came to Havana with some of my Cuban high school friends for a vacation. We spent 1 week here, and it was the most memorable week of my life. So now, this week, with my wife, Christina Maslach, I am trying to reproduce the wonders that I experienced in 1955. Recall that in 1955, the Cuban Revolution was beginning with Raúl Castro and his men in the mountains. So in their honor, I will add a little bit of political psychology to my talk today. So I'm going to begin by talking about the psychology of evil. Now, I have been interested in evil for a long time, since I was a child, because I grew up in a ghetto in New York. And in any ghetto in the world, there's evil men always trying to corrupt children. So my question is, what makes good people go wrong? So I begin with the assumption that most people are good most of the time. So we begin evil with Carlos Santana, change your evil ways. Change your evil ways. So I identify 3 different types of evil. Psychologists only study one, the psychology of individuals. We call that personal dispositions. So psychologists study the personality of sociopaths, of individuals. And in the media, these are the people always called bad apples. What I add, and I'll talk about it today, is situational evil. Social and physical environments that corrupt good people. And I call that the bad barrel. Putting good apples in a bad barrel, they come out as bad apples. The third type of evil that psychologists don't study at all, but should, especially in Cuba, is the influence of organization, of political, economic, cultural, and legal. And these are the bad barrel makers. These are the people at the top. They used to be the mafia. In most places, it's the government, especially where there is corrupt governments. Now, I want to begin with the classic example of situational evil that I created. Back in 1971 at Stanford University, many of you know this study I did with my graduate students, Fred Haney and Kurt Banks. So this is the image. We put an advertisement in a university paper. Stanford University is in California, the west side of America, and the city is called Palo Alto. So we put an ad on college students wanting for prison study for 1 to 2 weeks. 75 students answered the ad. Not Stanford students. These were students from all over America who were finishing summer school. We gave them personality tests and clinical interviews. And then we selected 24 normal, healthy, and then what we did is we randomly assigned guard, prisoner, and that is the independent variable in the study. The random assignment to conditions of role-playing, being a guard or a prisoner. We did not tell them how to play the role, but the reason I chose a prison as the environment, everybody knows, everybody has a sense. What does it mean to be a prisoner in a prison? What does it mean to be a guard? This is what the prisons and guards look like in their different uniforms. What is important in our study, as in many prisons, we took away their name, and they wore a uniform with a number, and they became a number. We took away their identity, and we dehumanized them. So the prisons had to memorize their number and all the other prisons' number, 8612, 2415, etc. Now, our study started as a very simple study. What happens when you put good people in a bad place? But very quickly, in 36 hours, a boy playing the role of prisoner had an emotional breakdown. And every day thereafter, another prisoner had an emotional breakdown. Wow, these were chosen because they were normal and healthy. How can this be happening? It was happening because the guards were becoming creatively evil. Each day doing something more sadistic and horrible to the prisoners. I want to play a little bit of a video from England, from the BBC, just so you see what the prison actually looked like.
In 1971, Zimbardo conducted a revolutionary experiment here in the bowels of Stanford University in the United States. It brought the work of psychology. A group of students were divided randomly into prisoners and guards and lived in a makeshift jail. The prisoners immediately became submissive, and the guards became cruel. Within a week, Zimbardo's prison was inhumane, and the experiment had to be cut short.
Interestingly, the Stanford Prison Experiment, which is normally described as SPE, Stanford Prison Experiment, is now a new Hollywood movie available on Netflix. And I was the consultant. It's about 95% accurate. And it's a young cast of wonderful actors playing the role of prisoners and guards, and actors playing the role of me. So I want to show you the trailer. It's 2 minutes, and I hope the translator can follow. It begins with my staff interviewing the participants, saying, do you want to be a prisoner or do you want to be a guard? Everyone says, I don't want to be a guard. Nobody likes guards. Especially in 1971, it was the Vietnam War, and police came onto the American campuses to disrupt violent activities. So nobody liked police, nobody liked prison guards. Well, can we start that? Okay, good. Bravo.
Would you rather be a guard or a prisoner?
I don't think I have the qualities to be a guard.
Prisoner.
Prisoner, yeah.
Prisoner sounds like you would be a little less worse.
Prisoner.
What's that?
I'll be like scars.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. This experiment will be an extension of my research into the effects prisons can have on human behavior.
You're going to be pleased to know that you all have been chosen to be prison guards.
But under no circumstances whatsoever will you physically assault the prisoners in any way. So remember, just as you were watching the prisoners, my graduate staff and I will be watching you.
Alright, gentlemen, we all have ourselves a marathon.
Rule number 1, prisoners must remain silent. This is an exercise period.
Okay, is it just me, or are these guys taking this thing a bit too seriously? Why don't you give me 20 push-ups?
Who this guy? Thinks he's John Wayne or something.
You address me as Mr. Courage Officer. This might be more interesting than police after all.
Why don't you make up your bunk, 8612?
I did, Mr. Correctional Officer. Well, that's not what I see.
Hey, what are you doing here? Just me now!
What was that?
You just hit him. You're not supposed to hit him.
Should we step in? No. Let the guards figure it out. Let's see where it goes.
Good evening, gentlemen. How about we make this one a night tournament? This is all real. They won't let you go. They won't let us leave.
Those are not prisoners. Those are not subjects. Those are toys, and you are harming them.
Let me out of here! Go out! Go out! It's not too big. It's a face under the yard, boy. Is that what you thought this was gonna be?
I had no idea it would turn out this way.
I had no idea it would turn out that way either. So I should mention that at the end of the experiment, we spent a whole day psychologically debriefing all the prisoners, all the guards, and then everyone together. And then we followed them up for several weeks. And I can say there was no negative effect of that negative situation beyond the being in the experiment. I have also summarized all of the criticism of the study in the website, prisonexperiment.org. prisonexp.org. Everything about the prison study is reproduced in 10 chapters in my book, The Lucifer Effect, which helps us understand the nature of evil. The book was also recently published in Spanish in Mexico, El Efecto Lucifer, and I will donate 2 copies of this to your library today. Now, let's turn to systemic evil that I say psychologists don't study it because we focus on the individual brain behavior. But systemic evil is what? It's poverty. It's genocide that is still going on in the world, in Syria. It's slave labor, which is in many countries around the world, not in Cuba anymore, and sex trafficking. Many, many countries in the world still have high levels of poverty, slave labor, and sex trafficking. In America, one of the richest countries in the world, more than 21% of all people in America grow up below the poverty level, which means to survive, the government must give them home relief money. Now, these are what I call evil of action. People doing bad things to other people. I identify a different kind of evil of inaction, not doing the right thing. And the biggest problem that we all face is climate change disaster, which is clearly coming around the world. In every single country in the world, the weather is changing in unpredictable ways. In some countries, they have the most rain or no rain, the most snow or no snow, the hottest and the coldest temperatures on record. And it's unpredictable which countries and where and when. Now, this is an evil of inaction because many governments, especially the American government headed by President Donald Trump, say, we don't believe it exists. It is certainly, the water is getting heated up, the water is rising. Many islands in the Caribbean, in South Pacific, the water will rise above the island and eliminate all the agriculture and eliminate all the people, houses of people who live there. So it's something that we must all be conscious of. Now, again, one of the most remarkable things I discovered in preparing this lecture is the systemic evil practiced by the Chinese government against its own men. The Chinese government kills 1 million of its men every year, annually. How? They encourage men to smoke. And 54% of all Chinese men smoke several packs of cigarettes every day. And because the image is masculine, only 2% of women smoke. So it's the lowest level of smoking of women and the highest level of smoking of men in any country in the world. Why did they do it? They own the tobacco industry. They make 605 billion yen a year. And also the government controls the media, so they prevent anti-smoking campaigns on the media. Recent scientific evidence indicating the number of Chinese men, how they're smoking, says that in 2013, 2 million will die, and by the turn of the century, in 2015, 3 million Chinese men will die every year. That is alarming. And I've been presenting these ideas, and no one is doing anything about it. So what do they do with the money? They do good things. They make schools. They make schools, they make hospitals with all their profit. However, in this school, in Sichuan, they call the school's name Sichuan Tobacco Primary School. The sign on your right-hand side says, "Ingenuity is the fruit of diligence. Tobacco will help you succeed." Meaning every child going into that school, young children, are being brainwashed, saying, if you smoke, it's going to help you succeed in school. And we know Chinese focus on education is one of the most intense in the world. Now, again, I said in honor of your revolutionaries, I want to make an aside. Right-wing governments are becoming popular all over Europe and in America. Right-wing governments are dictatorial or authoritarian, and mainly they limit the freedom of individuals. They limit our freedom and our liberty. So during the Second World War, it was fascism and communism. It was Germany and Russia that dominated the world. But now it's called exclusionary thinking. Each country says, we don't want any foreigners, we don't want any immigrants. In Hungary, where I visit every year, Prime Minister Orban said migrants are poison and they're not needed. In Poland, the ruling Law and Justice Department party says they don't want any women to be able to have abortions for any reason. In America, President Trump calls for a total and complete shutdown of immigrants entering America. My family is Sicilian. On 100%, on my grandmother's side, my grandfather's side, everybody in America is an immigrant, except Native Americans who live on reservations. So America is a country of immigrants, and that's what has made America great. It's a blend, it's a mix of people from every country in the world who come together and have a promise of having a better life. Now, recently I discovered that Brazil's president is extreme right-wing, he's anti-gay, and he denies that climate change exists. So this is a small sample of who are our new enemies. So my research has proven that there are situations that make ordinary people do bad things. Stop for a minute and let's reverse it. Are there situations that can make ordinary people, like any of us, do good things? How good? Good enough to qualify as being a hero. So, I asked President Obama, when he was still president, he was one of our best presidents of all time, are heroes special people? Are heroes different from everyone else? And Obama, this is a 1-minute presentation. Again, some of you will understand, maybe the translator will get it. He says, no. Heroes are usually ordinary people. It's what they do that is extraordinary. They stand up, they speak out, and they take action against evil. And he gives as an example a woman named Rosa Parks. I'll show you her picture. Who was an ordinary woman. She worked in Atlanta, Georgia, in the south of America, in the south part of America, and she made dresses for rich white ladies. But one day, she got on a bus, and in those days, all transportation was segregated. Black people in the back, white people in the front. She said, no. I pay the same, I sit wherever I want. And she sat down in front of the bus. The bus driver stopped, they called the police, and put her in prison for not sitting in the back of the bus. And that started a civil rights movement headed by Martin Luther King. And because of that, it changed transportation. So now in America, all transportation is desegregated.
You know, what's remarkable about history is ordinary people doing extraordinary things. Last year, Rosa Parks passed away. And I remember sitting on this stage with world leaders, Bill Clinton, and senators and governors, and thinking we were all paying homage to a seamstress who had transformed the country and helped transform the world. We never know sort of how our actions are going to ripple over time. But each of us can take some responsibility for making sure that we are pushing a little bit in the direction of justice, in the direction of equality, in the direction of tolerance. And when we do that, we may surprise ourselves with the amount of influence and impact we have just by standing up or speaking out.
So this is a picture of Rosa Parks, and you see in the back is Martin Luther King, and this is a picture of her in prison. Prison number 7053. Imagine what it was like to be a black person, you pay your money to get on a bus, and if you don't sit in the back that says for black people only, you could go to prison. But because of her action, they changed the law of the United States. So anybody of any color, any ethnicity could sit wherever they want. So this is a great change. So heroes take action. Heroes take action that makes a difference, that makes the world better in some way. Now here is my real-life hero. Her name was Christina Maslach, which is half Polish, half Italian, half other mixes. And 5 days into the experiment, I invited her to come down. We were going to have dinner afterwards, and she saw the guards abusing the prisoners. For me, it was just a nighttime event. And she says to me, "It's terrible what you are doing to those boys." We had just started dating, and she added, you, Zimbardo, have changed. I don't want to continue our relationship if this is the real you, because I don't know who you are. And what she did was she forced me to acknowledge the cruelty and humanity that I allowed when I was playing a role as prison superintendent. So this was a big mistake. I should have only been the researcher and have somebody else play the role of superintendent. Because when you play the role of superintendent of the prison, you side with the guards against the prisoners. If you're in a hospital, you side with the nurses and doctors against the patients. So that was a big mistake. So that bad situation changed me, a long-time researcher, as well as the students playing prisoners and guards. So I ended the experiment the next day. So how did I deal with this heroic challenger of my authority? We were married the next year at the Stanford Chapel, and this year was our 46th wedding anniversary.
Congratulations also.
Yeah, we can dim the lights. Okay, can we dim the lights? And she continues to keep me focused on doing good rather than stupid evil. So since the Stanford experiment, I've given up evil. No more dining in hell. I will only promote goodness and heroism in my new life. Now again, this is a cartoon that a student made for me in Hungary. And it simply says, I am the creator of something called the Heroic Imagination Project, or HIP, H-I-P. And it's a nonprofit foundation that I created to teach people basic social psychology and cognitive psychology that creates a foundation to be an everyday hero, or hero in training. So it's a short video, just a minute and a half.
Hello, I'm Zimbardo, President and founder of the Heroic Imagination Project. Our main focus is promoting the idea that heroes are ordinary people who take extraordinary action in challenging situations in their lives. Effective heroes do the right thing when other people are doing the wrong thing, or more often when they're doing nothing. And also to expose evil in all of its many forms as a whistleblower. We believe heroism begins in the mind, begins with thinking about yourself as a hero. Thinking about yourself as having an inner hero that we will help express through our lessons, our ways of rethinking the nature of good and evil.
So that is our basic focus. And we have, I'll describe, we have a number of lessons that I created along with academics. So we are a non-profit organization, as I said, that uses social psychological lessons and train youth to do what Rosa Parks said: stand up, speak out, and take a wise and effective action to help change the world for the better. And the world starts in your family, in your community, in your neighborhood, in your school, and then in your city, and finally in your country. You become an everyday hero. So what is being a hero? A hero acts on behalf of others in need. Somebody's hurt, somebody's going down, somebody's suffering, somebody's in poverty, somebody's hungry. Or you don't help an individual, you defend a moral cause. But there's always a potential cost. You could get hurt. If you're a whistleblower against corruption, you could lose your job. But the important thing is heroes are usually ordinary, everyday people. But it's their actions that are extraordinary. So that's the thing. So it means any of us could be a hero. We're ordinary people. Because the idea we get from the military hero, from religious heroes, from political heroes, they are special people. And usually it's only men. So what we're talking about is anyone, men and women, young and old, could become heroes. Now again, what Obama said at the end is what's important about heroism, it creates a positive ripple effect. It's like throwing a coin in a lake, and it hits and creates a ripple effect. So that you want your ripple effect to be positive, because it spreads throughout the world. So you yourself want to be an example of an everyday hero, bringing goodness to around all the people who are connected with you. So heroes start with small steps. We call it being a hero in training. What does that mean? Heroes are sociocentric. They focus always on the other. The enemy of heroism is the egocentric, thinking only of me. So what it means is you always focus on other people. Every day you say, what can I do to make someone feel special? It's really easy. You ask them what their name is, you practice it, you remember their name, you say their name, you start a conversation, and they end ideally with giving a compliment. I really enjoyed speaking with you. For men, I really like that unusual tie, or for women, a beautiful scarf. So you make a personal connection so each person feels, hey, I'm special in the eyes of this person. When your perspective becomes sociocentric, you change your thinking. You stop saying me and I, you begin to say we and us. So what HIT promotes is education programs, as I said, based on social and cognitive psychology. Our lessons are really interactive workshops for children aged 13 to adults. We are now in colleges and high schools. We're starting now in business, in corporations, in public organizations, and community groups. So we have now 3 lessons that we are sharing. One lesson is developing a growth mindset. The second lesson is combating the bystander effect. And the third lesson is reducing prejudice. So each lesson that I created with my team is 3 or 4 hours long with videos, with dynamic interaction of the teacher and the students, or the trainer and the participants. And so for the growth mindset, it says, all of us have a fixed, narrow, static mindset. It's a prejudice we have against ourselves. We say, this is what I can do, and this is what I can't do. And also we project that on other people. So we say, women are not good in mathematics, women are not good in technology, African American people are not good in English. So we project this prejudice, but it's also against us. So we say to ourselves, I'm not good in foreign languages, or I'm not good at understanding different kinds of music. But we want to change that to say, we all want to have a growth mindset. What does that mean? It means every ability, every talent, every activity can be improved by 2 things: putting in time and practice and effort. So our lesson changes the way you think about yourself and also about other people. The bystander effect simply says that when you're in a situation and somebody is in need, has fallen down, is hurt, most people would help if they were alone. If there are 2 or more people who don't help, they create a social norm of do nothing. And so when you come in that situation, normally you would help. If you look around and other people are not helping, you become passive instead of active. And so we teach you how to break that passivity and always be an active hero. And our newest lesson, which is again most important, is reducing prejudice. Prejudice against anyone in your mind is, in quote, different. Men have prejudice against women, women have prejudice against men, we have prejudice of different people from different ethnic backgrounds, from different skin color. And we teach you how to transform prejudice into understanding and accepting and enjoying diversity. You want to include people who are different from you because that's how you learn about yourself. So, for example, stereotype, prejudice, and discrimination. We call that SPD, stereotype, prejudice, discrimination. We teach you what does that mean and how does it happen. This affects everyone. Now, again, I had learned that before the revolution, there was an area in Havana, Cibona, I think it's Cibona, where black people could not walk on the street. Unheard of. Black people were not allowed to walk on the street in this rich area. And also there was a famous social club where no black person could be admitted. Amazingly, President Batista, who was very, very wealthy, a lot of it from corruption, was mulatto. And he could not belong to that social club when he was president of Havana, of this area, president of Cuba. So you want to identify barriers that cause that. And then at the end of every lesson, we say, what have you learned? And who would you like to share this with? Your mother, your father, your cousin, your boyfriend, girlfriend. So each student then becomes a teacher of our lesson. Now, what I'm happy about is our program is worldwide. We are in many countries. We are in the west coast of America, but we are in Budapest, Hungary, in London, England, in Porto, Portugal, many cities in Poland, in Bali, Indonesia, in Tehran, Iran, all the places you see, Prague, Buenos Aires, and Bratislava. We're only in Argentina, and we would love to be in your country. And I'll tell you how you can get in touch with us, and we work together. I think I have just time. Now, as I said, I am Sicilian. I'm a Sicilian American. And I have projects in Sicily where I go every year. I give money along with my wife. We send high school children to college. We give them a scholarship. So every year, we're doing this for 16 years. We give money to go to college. But in addition, we have a HIP program where we teach children in the ghetto, like the ghetto I grew up in New York, in the ghetto of Palermo, which is really incredibly poor and bad for people who live. And we teach them our lessons. Now, what's really interesting is the Sicilian government, unlike the Italian government, invited African youth to come to Palermo, maybe more than 100. And when they got there, they taught them, they put them in a nice place to live, gave them clothing, of course, taught them Italian, and then we put them in our program, and they became teachers. Teachers of white Catholic children, and they are, of course, black Muslim. And now they had great respect for them because the teachers had all this knowledge. In addition, we gave them some euros, half of which they keep and half of which they send home to their parents in Africa. So now their parents are happy that they migrated rather than sad that they left home. So if you want to know more, again, it's heroicimagination.org. We have a wonderful website. There's a lot of, tell you a lot of what we're doing. And if you simply say admit at heroicimagination.org, then you can be in touch. Or you can contact me directly, drzimbardo@gmail.com, if you want to get connected and have our program in your country. So with that, what our brighter future looks like from my point of view is peace replaces war, compassion rules over fear, understanding and acceptance overcomes prejudice and discrimination, and lastly, heroes dominate villains. So with that, Dr. Z, thank you for your attention, and Terry.